Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
You have people on the left that don't want masks. You have people on the right that want masks.
We're just here for freedom. We're from obviously, we're brown ethnicities. And, we heard what Jagmeet Singh said, labeling all us as, right-wing conspiracy theorists. We just think that, we're here for freedom, right? That's all we're here for. And it doesn't make any sense.
These activities across Canada and across the world are being labeled as right-wing extremism. This is not the case. I, for one, have been a Liberal, NDP, and Green supporter, and I find myself without a party right now because they're buying into this narrative dictated by the WHO. WHO is riddled with conflicts of interest. People are not looking.
Well, today I really wanted to once again promote the legal action and talk about the reason why we are commencing this legal action, and it is really to bring to the forefront the amount of corruption that is behind this, that these emergency measures were passed unlawfully, that these vaccines are knowingly causing a lot of harm, and they continue to promote them, even when, say, with AstraZeneca, 24 other countries have removed it.
Behind me is the worldwide freedom rally taking place at the Vancouver Art Gallery. As Vancouverites are gathering here and people from the Lower Mainland across Canada in 45 different cities, the same thing is happening. Contrary to what you may believe, if you've never attended a freedom rally, you might associate these things with, I don't know, being far-right extremists because of politicians like this.
Yes, I do think that there is an connection with people who aren't wearing a mask or who aren't following public health guidance and the extreme right, and the idea that folks in the extreme right don't care about people around them, aren't concerned about the safety and well-being of people generally, their neighbors.
And also this.
Those people at those anti-mask protests, let's not kid ourselves, they're not people who need to eat. They are people who are marching in thinly veiled white nationalist, supremacist, anti-government protests, and they don't deserve that kind of sympathy.
Now, I've covered a lot of freedom protests. There's been no looting at any of the ones I've covered. There's been nobody getting hurt. There's a lot of smiles and there is some hugs, but there's also been no outbreaks associated with them. I'm going to ask people what they think about this narrative of being called far-right extremists when they're trying to stand up for freedom for all. Drea Humphrey for Rebel News.
Are you ready to stand up to this government? That's better. Over the last 14 months, I have learned more about my rights than I have in my whole life. And the main thing that I have learned above all else is this. We need to know our rights. We need to protect our rights, or we are damn well going to lose our rights.
All right, so I'm standing with three gentlemen from Police on Guard for Thee. Now, the first question I'm asking people is, we're seeing a definite narrative that the freedom group is being painted as far-right extremist groups and white nationalists. So I wanted to get your guys' take on that.
Well, that's unfortunate that that's what's happening, putting a name on people that are just here exercising their charter rights to be free. And we as Police on Guard, we back that. We back people that are gathered here for that reason, right? So we're standing behind the charter rights of Canada and the Constitution, right? So, yeah.
So explain a little bit about what you guys have been doing with Police on Guard for Thee.
Well, this is what we're doing. We've come into rallies, making ourselves known to members of the public. We have our mission statement that I've read earlier. You probably heard about it. It's basically standing on that oath that we've promised to keep, right? To back the charter rights and freedom for the people, not because of medical tyranny, what the government is handing down to us, right? And that's wrong.
Now, were you guys all officers or?
I was, yeah.
Why do you think that we're seeing a lot of officers that are kind of putting that oath on a back table right now when it comes to COVID-19?
A lot of us are trained to follow orders, so that's what we're doing to protect our paycheck and pension.
And how about yourself. Why do you think that seems like a lot of officers across Canada are not exactly upholding their oath right now?
I think we're dealing with a little bit of some of them forgetting that oath, and we're here basically to remind them of that oath. That's our purpose. That's what we're all about. Uphold the charter rights, uphold the Constitution of Canada.
All right. Anything else you guys wanted to add? Or?
Yeah, everybody, you can look for us on policeonguard.ca. You can come and support us. Our website is loaded with information, videos, and if you want to find out more about our application in Ontario, check it out, and we appreciate your support. Thank you. Thank you, Jim.
These activities across Canada and across the world are being labeled as right-wing extremism. This is not the case. I, for one, have been a Liberal, NDP, and Green supporter, and I find myself without a party right now because they're buying into this narrative dictated by the WHO. WHO is riddled with conflicts of interest. People are not looking. I just want to say that the polarity of left-right, that's old. That's an old division. Right now we have to look at the polarity between those who value freedom and those who do not.
Now, what you just said there was considered conspiracy talk about a year ago, but over half of the world's countries have aligned with what you're saying, that there should be an investigation with the WHO. And that's exactly what you're talking about, the polarization. Why do you think that narrative is sort of taking off, that the people that attend these Freedom for All rallies are far-right extremists?
Well, it's convenient for them to use that language because there's already fear associated with that. And if people don't look beyond the label, then they're not going to know. Really, those that see that censorship being the cornerstone of democracy in terms of being able to have free speech, that's being compromised. If they're not curious about those voices that are being silenced, then that's on them.
So there's lots of talk about an election coming up. You said you found yourself with no party right now. So what would you do?
Well, I don't know. Obviously, ask the questions of those that are running. And I find myself with strange bedfellows now, agreeing with people who previously I would have seen as antagonists to my worldview, and now I see we have more in common than we have dividing us.
We're just here for freedom. We're from obviously, we're brown ethnicities, and we heard what Jagmeet Singh said, labeling all us as right-wing conspiracy theorists. We just think that we're here for freedom, right? That's all we're here for, and it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, freedom seems like the most unified thing you could advocate for.
I think it's time that Canada stand up, and we stand up as a community and really come together, because it's just getting worse.
You guys, YouTube is trying to get rid of us. They've deplatformed us, and we know we're going to be taken off any second. You have to go to rebelnews.com. We need your phone number or your email so that we keep in touch.
Thank you.
We are walking down Granville Street. I'd say there's at least 1,000 protesters. Again, this is happening across Canada right now. Canadians are tired. They want answers. They want transparency, and they're tired of being labeled anti-maskers or far-right extremists. Hi, can we ask you
why? Put on a mask before you talk to me.
There's no law for it being outside. Also, the sign. Have you read the science? Have you read the science?
Put a mask on.
Oh, do you talk to your elders like this all the time?
Yeah, I do. Put a mask on.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so why don't you ask Bonnie Henry to make people put a mask on? Do you trust her decision, or you guys think you're more qualified? But our head doctor doesn't say to do so. So where's your qualification?
What head doctor? They just put a mask on.
Our provincial health officer has not mandated masks outside because the science doesn't support doing so.
No, but it's so
In
big.
Ireland, there's been studies.
Is this physical distancing right now?
Are you guys related? Do you live in the same household? No social distancing.
Hi, Internet. Wear your mask. Get vaccinated. I just got mine on Wednesday. I'm feeling fantastic.
All right, so what is your reasoning for telling them to wear masks outside?
Because you're in a crowd, you're in a group.
All right, so
It's air transmitted, it's through breath, it's in the air, right?
there's been a lot of studies on outdoor transmission. Ireland just one said that cases or transmission's about 0.01%. In China, over 7,000 cases were analyzed, only 2 were from it.
The sooner we follow the rules and comply, we can return to freedom and normalcy. I want it just as bad as everyone else. I want to be able to visit my own father who's in his 60s without wearing a mask.
How long should businesses be closed, people not be allowed to worship together with people not be able to see their own family? How long should that last if the vaccine doesn't stop transmission and if people can still catch and die from it?
As long as possible.
At the end of the day, mask or no mask, all this is just creating division, right? I have friends who don't wear masks, and I have a friend that isn't gonna get vaccinated, and I still love her, right? But what's happening right now is that, this is a visual separation. You can clearly see it. You can be like, oh, that guy's wearing a mask, that guy's not wearing a mask, and you just automatically pick sides. That's what they're trying to do, dude. It's like, why create all this division?
Well, one of the things we're noticing here, and we've actually been asking them, is that the news has started to label these types of freedom movements that have been happening for over a year peacefully. For the most part, there might have been somebody swearing, but I mean, there's no looting, there's no trashing, no one's actually getting hurt. And now they're being called far-right extremists. What do you think about that?
I don't like getting into the politics. At the end of the day, it's an individual opinion. You have people on the left that don't want masks. You have people on the right that want masks. To me personally, it's just I feel comfortable wearing a mask. I'm not gonna be like, yo, why the aren't you wearing a mask, right? But at the end of the day, it's I just want us all to be friends.
Another powerhouse for BC.
All right, so I'm here with Danielle and Alicia here. Now, first, I'm just going to get this question out of the way. We're seeing politicians like Jagmeet Singh call these types of protests white nationalists and far-right extremists. So since you guys were organizers, I figure it's perfect to ask you guys that question. Is that the case? Is that what's going on here?
That
Absolutely not.
Yeah, that is absolutely not the case. This is pro-freedom, pro-choice.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no more to say than that.
It's so simple. It's really simple. They just want to paint anybody who's protesting these orders as anti-maskers, or we're not anti-anything. We are pro-freedom and pro-choice.
Right. Now, what was the vision behind this being a worldwide rally?
So Germany was the first one to kick off coordinating, making this a worldwide event, and we've been working with Bettina Engler, who has been the Canadian correspondent, and I had the amazing opportunity to meet her when I went to Kelowna Rally back in March, and so we've been working with her to bring this event to another level here for the 2.0 in Vancouver.
Yeah, and you guys had a pretty good turnout. So where is everybody at now? What's the biggest concern that your freedom movement has right at this very moment?
Well, I don't know if we have a concern. We're fortunate to be in BC, so we don't have provinces that are as tyrannical. Our police officers, they respect their oath, which is the respect of the Charter and the Bill of Rights. So for us, I think we are just trying to grow in numbers and help educate as many people as we can along the way.
It feels like the noose around our neck is not is well recognized, I think, here in BC. So my concern is that because our lockdown measures, not that I want more lockdown measures, but because the boot on the neck is a little further back east, they get bigger numbers that come out. And because I think people still have the apparent freedom, and they don't really see that we are suppressed. They just think that we're a bunch of COVID idiots. Right. So, I think, that kind of dilutes people in the nice weather. Sometimes people want to be out at the trails and the beaches and stuff. And so they don't really see that there's as big of a problem as what we really have.
And our cousin province in the west is getting hit pretty hard. Even gatherings like this, a protest right now is temporarily or hopefully temporarily illegal. All right, is there anything you guys wanted to add to the people watching who haven't attended these types of protests and might have the wrong idea?
There's a couple of things. So these protests are about community, they're about gathering people, they're about empowering people with decisions. There's so much that we've done together as coming together as a community. The other thing is that if you are not comfortable to show up at a protest, we are doing an online movement every 3 weeks. The next one is on May 28th with the Freedom Organization. You can find us at www.thefreedomorg.ca. And myself, Alicia, Tanya the Herbalist, Amanda Forbes, we're the 4 Pillars of Truth that are coordinating with top scientists, law enforcement, some of the biggest doctors but that are speaking out against all of these tyrannical orders. So we are uniting people across the country. It's the only way that we can unite the entire country together simultaneously. So, it's a little different than this format, but it's another way for people to be able to connect if you don't want to show your face because of your employment or friends of seeing you and whatnot. Another great way. And we are collecting data about how many people are showing up. It's obviously all very private, but that information is going to be submitted to the government at the highest levels. We're also doing polls, and I don't know if you heard Brian's speech earlier, but we are finding that there's more people complying with, say, for instance, mask mandates just because they don't want to be called out. So we've got about 60% of people that are wearing masks. They know that they don't work, but they are actually still complying because they just don't want to deal with the hassle, where there's only 5% of people that are actually wearing it because they feel like it's actually helping them and others. So there's 35% of us that are about full facial nudists, as I like to call it, but 60%...
Bareface tribe.
Right. But if the 60% join the 35%, this is over. So let's get past it. We're doing these polls. These polls are giving us a lot of great information. We're going to take these polls to an entirely different level with somebody who's going to come in the back and help support us with that. So please tune in. Every Friday, we're having our Freedom Friday chats. And then every 3 weeks, we're doing our big conferences. So that's where we would really love to find people. And you can always find out what Alicia and I are up to here in BC through that too.
Awesome. All right, the Worldwide Freedom Rally is coming to an end, at least in Vancouver. As usual, it was overall peaceful. There was a little bit of friction pockets here and there. One guy did get carried off by the VPD, who have always consistently done a great job at keeping the peace for the protests that happen in Canada. Important here, if you appreciate that we give you the other side of the story here, including letting the protesters speak for themselves about whether or not they're white nationalists or far-right extremists, it's really important you go to rebelnews.com. Big tech organizations like PayPal and YouTube don't want us being able to communicate with you and give you the information on the other side of the story. So please go there and give us your phone number or your email. Drea Humphrey for Rebel News. Thankfully, yet again, no fines from what I could see were issued to the protesters who peacefully gathered today. But that's not the case for across Canada. We have helped over 1,000 Canadians fight tyrannical fines and even charges for things like protesting and more. But we can't do it alone. We ask that people like you who are passionate about freedom go and donate what they can to our civil liberties charity called Fight the Fines. You will get a taxable receipt, not a penny goes to Rebel News, and you'll be helping a lot of people while you do this.